Good morning, my beloved. It is 7:30 Central Time on a Monday. Welcome to Lee Speaks. I'm about 15 minutes late because I already did this once on the wrong channel. So this is my second go around. It ought to be pretty good. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for joining my podcast and becoming a subscriber. Love you all so much. I have a question for you. Do you know them? Last week we talked about knowing yourself and how important it is for you to know who you are, to know your gifts and your strengths and your talents, to know your weaknesses, to be self aware of how you impact those around you, how they see you, not just how you think they see you, but how they actually perceive you. Do you know yourself? Today I want to talk about knowing those that labor among you, your spouse, your kids, your ministry co-workers, your business help, your employees, all these things. Do you know those you work with every day? Scripture says in 1 Thessalonians 5:12, to know them that labor among you. Do you know their strengths? Do you know their Strength Finders results, their DISC results, their Enneagram results, their shape test results? Do you know if they're a choleric or phlegmatic, or do you know those that labor among you? Scripture's even clear in 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 7. Husbands, dwell with them, talking about our wives. Husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge. Get to know them and honor them as the weaker vessel. It doesn't say they're weaker, meaning they're less than. It means to honor them as valuable and precious. I might talk about that a whole nother time. Treating them as the weaker vessel. And then he says, lest your prayers be hindered. To not know those that you work with, to not know your spouse, is inviting disaster, is inviting your prayers being hindered. It leads to this idea of you're rowing this way, they're rowing this way, and you're just going in circles. And I watch this happen in marriages. I watch this happen in businesses. I watch this happen in ministries because they don't know each other. And one's trying to make up for the other one's ideas. You know, almost always in a marriage, one person is harder than the other one. And usually it's the men who are harder. I've seen it lots of times where the women are. But if the man seems to be hard on the kids, the wife has a tendency to be more easy and laid back. And the more merciful and laid back she is, the harder he is because he feels like he has to be that one. Well, the harder he is, the softer she is. And they end up fighting with each other instead of doing what's right for the children. Do you know those that labor among you? You know, one of the greatest things that happened in my wife and I's marriage is getting to actually know one another and realizing I am too hard. If it was up to me, it'd be a military outpost. My kids would get up 5 in the morning, drop down, give me 25. I want to hear you count them. My wife would be like, they got knives and guns and they're running around the house, jumping on the furniture, and she'd be like, they're having a great time. We had to learn to come together. You know, where people walk in unity, there's commanded blessing. And so many marriages are lacking the blessing because they're not in unity. He's too hard, she's too soft. I had to realize chaining them to the bed till they're 25 is too hard. She had to realize talking to him for the 50th time is too easy. And we had to come to a place where when we finally decided they're going to get one swat and they're not going to get to go to the ball game, once we were in unity, now we could go discipline and it worked out so much better and God commanded a blessing there. But you have to get to know your spouse. You have to get to know those that labor among you. Vacations used to be terrible for us. One of those reasons where we were broke. And you spend the whole time stressed out that if you have a flat tire, you're going to have to cancel, a day's worth of stuff because you didn't put that in the budget. You just didn't have it. And so my kids didn't know we were broke. We would pack sandwich meat and bread and mustard and mayonnaise, and we would make sandwiches for lunch. But we would go by McDonald's and buy two large fries because that's all we could afford. Ginger and I would split one of those large fries. The kids would split the other large fries with their sandwiches. They just thought that was the coolest thing. But it's basically all we could afford and the way we could make it happen. That puts stress on a vacation when you're so worried what that Coke for everybody to have a Coke wasn't in the budget, or that flat tire, or one time I locked my keys in the van 2 days in a row, cost me $65 each time. That limited our vacation. And the guy finally, who did the second time, he said, I can help you out. He made me an extra key for like $1.50. He said, stick it in your wallet. It made life a lot less stressful. So you need to know those that labor among you. The other thing that made vacations terrible is Ginger is really detail oriented. It's almost demonic. I mean, if I tell her we're going to be gone on vacation on this date for a week, and then say plan the vacation, I can a week or two later I can ask her, where are we going to be Tuesday on our vacation at 2:30, and she can tell me. That's nuts, but it has saved me thousands of dollars, and I always have a place to put my head at night because she'll have called ahead and got us a place. So I'm much more free. I just could go in. Let's just go north. We'll figure out when we're going when we get there. When we're about halfway out of money, we'll head back. I'm pretty easy going that way. And there's benefits to that, but there's also deficits to that. We ended up one time not being able to find a place, and when we did find one, it was a terrible place. It was actually a prostitute's room. We couldn't even sleep. We put clothes out on the bed, slept on top. It was just terrible feeling. So anyway, I have my strengths. She has her strengths. What we learned is we're different. Instead of clashing, we learn to honor one another's differences. And now, because she's detailed and she's got it planned out, she's learned to be a lot more free flowing. I've learned to be a little more detail oriented and okay with it. On any given team, whether it be a family or a ministry or a business, you will have the get along people who want to sing kumbaya and roast marshmallows and just have a great time, clashing with the get it done people. And you need both. You need to get along, but you also need to get stuff done. But those two entities will often clash because they're coming at it from a different viewpoint. When you can learn to honor those differences and everybody row the same direction, now you've got synergy. Now you can accomplish great things. So you need to know those that labor among you. You need to know your spouse so that you're not believing for a cabin in the woods and she's believing for a high rise in New York. You're not going to be able to get there until you work together. Amos 3:3 says, how can two walk together except they be agreed? If you're walking north and she's walking south, or he's walking east and you're walking west, you're going to have issues. If on a ministry team or a business team, it is why you need to know those people that you've hired, the people that you work with, so that you can be in agreement what direction you're going. And somebody has to call the last shot. Some in a meeting, I've been in lots of meetings where there have been, man, good arguments in both directions, but somebody had to say, we're going to go north. And if it collapsed, they take the criticism for it. That was my decision. I made that decision. It went wrong. I am sorry. Let's go this direction. Somebody has to make that decision. But once you leave the room, there needs to be agreement so that the rest of the team can know we're walking north and not be opposed to y'all. So I love y'all so much. Bless you. I'm grateful again for everybody that listens, those that have, I've had a couple of people even this last week that joined the giving and they're now becoming a monthly giver, and I'm always grateful for that. I never take that for granted. I am not a 501c3. If you give me money monthly, it's just like paying for lunch or supper. Because I'm feeding you, you just decide to pay for your meal. That's all. I'll give the food whether you pay or not. I know me. But I'm grateful for those that have joined and said, hey, I'm going to help. Thank you so much. Looking forward to next Monday. Let me say hi to a few folks while I'm here and then they're here. Shirley, bless you. Jim, Junior, Portia, thank you all so much. I love you guys. Thank you for being faithful. Karen, Gary, love you guys. Talk to you next week. Have a great week.